Welcome to my latest podcast series, One Life. My name's Terence Wallace, and I'm the writer and publisher of a weekly essay entitled Indelible Adventures, and I'm your host. This podcast series sets out to prompt and challenge your thinking about life and what it means to really live your life. I'll share with you my insights and personal experiences with the sole objective of getting you to reflect and think about your approach to living your best life. So let's get started. This week's episode is entitled Finding Self. This past week, I've been reflecting on my path to finding self. It's often the small things in life that have the most meaning and more often than not provide the greatest insights into who you are. Taking my time over a fresh pot of coffee on the weekend was pure delight. Clearly I don't get out much, right? The fresh coffee took me back to a memory. As is often the case with memories, they're linked in a chain. Sure, this one began innocently enough with a pot of coffee. But before I knew it, it had transported me way back in time to 2011 after my hike across Papua New Guinea with my best mate Craig. After the hike, we were waiting for our flight back to Australia at Jackson's International Airport in Port Moresby, and I had procured some local coffee beans at the duty-free. Those coffee beans came to symbolise my journey in Papua, but also my personal journey. I suppose what I find most interesting is the linkages in my mind. From a simple cup of coffee, it took me back to my time in Papua almost a decade ago, and then on to where my life is today. This chain of thoughts and memories brought me to where I am today. It also got me thinking about how much my life has changed over the last decade, but more importantly about all the little things that I've discovered that I do for myself that bring me joy and happiness. This flood of memories really has been an excellent reminder that happiness is an inside job, and that the only person that can make you happy is you. And I've been purposefully slowing down and trying to enjoy the moments and experiences that each day brings. No, it's not always simple, and it can easily get caught up in our day-to-day lives and sometimes the frustrations that go with our existence. And so getting back to my simpler approach to life and not worrying about what tomorrow will bring has been a good personal reminder of my core values and beliefs. Back in 2015, I published an essay entitled Just Me, which is still one of my favourite stories, by the way. As I reread my essay, the same thing kept coming back to me. Am I enough, just as I am? Asking me that question in 2015 versus 2021 and you would get a vastly different answer. In 2021, I have a greater level of self-confidence and belief. But with the underlying foundation, which has always been true, in that I want to live life on my terms. Now, some people might see this as selfish, but that's me. I guess the older I've gotten, the less I care about what other people think about me. Some might think this is a cavalier approach or a free pass to bad behavior, but actually it's far from it. Acceptance of who I am, just as I am, is an important and fundamental and indeed non-negotiable aspect of my relationships. This particular thing has been very difficult to overcome over the course of my life because, essentially, I've always been a pleaser. And I know this will resonate with many of you who are similarly like me. But I guess with age and experience, what I've come to understand is that I want to be accepted for who I am and not what I could be if I'd change. Our personal values and beliefs can't be compromised to keep someone else happy. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. We all know this deep down, but sometimes we can lose sight of this and fall into old habits, and I'm especially guilty of that. Finding self and staying true to that is one of the most difficult things that you can do. You're always, as a pleaser, looking to help make the other person feel happy, to feel joy, often at your own expense. However, if you do, then you're not being true to yourself, and trust me, it's all downhill from there, my friends. I suppose determining that line in the sand where you're willing to be flexible to and where you're not. Now, it's okay to be flexible, but the challenge is staying consistent with your relationships and making sure that your values and beliefs aren't compromised and that you are staying true to yourself is so hard sometimes, but critical to finding self. Because as we know, once you're over the edge, it's hard to get back to some form of equilibrium, because then you begin to doubt whether the other person actually knows you at all and is willing to use you versus understanding who you are and accepting you for exactly who you are. Letting your values and beliefs slide and accommodating others' needs before your own is a recipe for disaster and something that you shouldn't be willing to accept, often because the side effects are quite toxic in that it erodes your self-confidence and feeling of self-worth, whether you believe you're lovable or not, and whether you are deserving of hopes and dreams without conditions being placed upon you. I guess finding unconditional love is part of finding self. Finding self often takes a lifetime of pain, suffering, and hard work. Although unfortunately most people don't know the path that each of us have taken to get where we are today. They only see what's in front of them, the image and the assumptions that they make on who and how we got where we are. I suppose my takeaway for this week is don't be fooled by the outward appearance of others. Accept them for who they are, just as they are, without expectations or pretense. Take a moment to look inwardly and repeat after me. I am enough, just as I am. Remember, finding self is not a nice to have. It's a non-negotiable necessity for living a life full of joy and contentment. Surprisingly, what started off as a simple and enjoyable cup of coffee led me to reflect on finding self and the discoveries I've made over the years. I'm going to leave you with this. Have you found self? If you'd like to learn more about Indelible Adventures and the products and services we provide, please take a moment to visit the website at www.indelibleadventures.com. Indelible Adventures is one word. Thanks for listening and look forward to hosting you again soon. All the best.